All right, the Senate will come back to order. Just to get everybody up to speed as to kind of how we're operating here, we're taking up the measures as they come in from the House, taking up the actions. It seems like there's just, obviously it takes them a little bit more time to vote because of the process over there. So it's every time we get enough here to act on for 30 or 40 minutes, we take those actions, and then we take a small recess. So we're back in action now. We're going to take up a supplemental consent calendar. So you've got a supplemental consent calendar of local bills before you, Mr. Secretary. Are there any objections filed to any bills on the supplemental local consent calendar?
Mr. President, there are no objections filed.
Is there objection or agreeing to the report of the Committee on State and Local Government, which is favorable to the passage of the bill on the local consent calendar? Chair hears none, and the report of the committee is agreed to. The question is on the passage on the bills on the local consent calendar. All those in favor will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. What purpose does the senator from the 48th rise?
Mr. President,
Parliamentary
I
inquiry?
have parliamentary inquiry.
State
May I
inquiry?
get a copy of the calendar, the consent calendar?
The Secretary tells me it's been on your desk for over an hour, but we'll get you a copy of it if you can't find it. Have all senators voted? Got a couple more in the hallway. All senators voted. Got a thumbs up from the hallway. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, on the bills on the local consent calendar, the yeas are 44, the nays are 0. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 21st for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate agree to the House sub to SR 844 as amended by the Senate.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Resolution 844 by Senator Miller of the 49th and others, a resolution honoring the life of Deputy Nicholas Blaine Dixon and dedicating a bridge in his memory and for other purposes. Mr. President, the House offers the following substitute to Senate Resolution 844, a resolution dedicating certain portions of state highway system to provide an effective date and to repeal conflicting laws and for other purposes. Mr. President, the senator from the 21st, Senator Beach and others, offers the following amendment to the House substitute to Senate Resolution 844. Whereas Mr. Richard L. Jackson has long been recognized by the citizens of this state for his contributions to the healthcare industry, as well as for advocacy for foster care system of Georgia and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 21st to speak to his motion.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I bring this amendment before you. In our original road naming bill that we sent to the House, this was in it. When it came back to us, it was taken out. I merely want to put this back in lines 442 and 443 to read as follows, and I'm not going to read the whole amendment, but I do want to tell you a little bit about Mr. Jackson. Rick Jackson is a businessman in my community, Alpharetta. He bounced around to 13 different foster care homes as a child, graduated from high school, went to work for a staffing company called Coker Staffing. 5 years later, he bought the company. It is now Jackson Healthcare, and under the Jackson Healthcare umbrella, there's 18 different healthcare companies. The Lieutenant Governor and I were about a year and a half ago, we're at his new ribbon cutting of his new building. He invested $100 million in a new building on top of the building he already had there. He has added 1,000 new employees. He's got over 2,500 employees company-wide, and I will tell you, he's the type of guy we want to name a road after. Not only is he a great businessman and a great employer in my community, I would tell you I don't think there's anybody in this state from a philanthropic standpoint that's done more for foster care through Faith Bridge. Since he was a foster child himself, that's his passion, and he's done a lot for the foster care kids in our state. And I know the senator from the 28th has carried a lot of foster care bills, and we appreciate what we're doing as a state to make sure the foster care system gets better every year, and Rick Jackson's been a big part of that. So I am honored to name this road after him, this interchange, and I would ask for your favorable consideration to this that was in the original bill, so we can send it back to the House for final passage. Mr. President, if there's no questions, I'll yield the will.
Chair recognizes the minority leader for a question.
Senator Yield.
Yes.
Senator, do you have any reasons or knowledge of why it was removed in the House?
Chairman Tanner just told me it was removed. It was above his pay grade, and he was asked to remove it.
Senator, further yield?
Yes.
I fully support Senators getting to name roads. I was just curious, did they give you any indication whether if it was amended, they would be accepted, or?
I would think it would be because the majority leader has a road naming in this bill that he added to the Senate bill. The dean of the House has a road naming in this Senate bill, and the rules chairman from the House has a road naming in this bill. So I would not think that the leadership in the House would want to kill their road naming bills also, but I'm willing to take my chances.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 56th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield.
Yes.
Senator, isn't it true that Rick Jackson is probably one of the greatest philanthropists in the history of the state of Georgia?
He is. He's a great philanthropist, a great businessman. I can tell you his company on an annual basis is voted one of the best places to work with for the health care system they have, as far as the workout facilities and so on. They really take care of their employees. He takes care of his people, and he takes care of the foster children in our state. I'm very proud to do this for him and call him a friend.
And one further question, if you
Yes.
could, Senator. And aside from all his great charity and work with foster care to help in the state, isn't it true he has created thousands and thousands of jobs in our community?
He has created thousands of jobs.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 27th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield.
Yes.
Senator, are you aware of the work that Jackson Healthcare has done throughout the state of Georgia during this COVID crisis?
Yes, I was aware that they went down to Columbus and basically really helped in that part of the state when they were Albany, I believe it. Albany, when they were having that hot spot during COVID-19. I also know that they took one of the worst nursing care facilities off Auburn Avenue and now there are 0 COVID-19 cases within that that senior nursing home.
Thank you, Senator.
You have no more questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for favorable consideration.
Does any of the senator wish to speak for or against the motion? The chair sees none. The senator from the 21st has moved that the Senate agree to the substitute to Senate Resolution 844 as amended by the Senate. That is a mouthful. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Take it easy, Ellis. You're on your last day at work. Just take it easy. We got one more coming in the hallway. Now we got two more coming. One more coming. Lindsay, you must have been over at the CLOB. There's Harbison. He must have been doing push-ups in the ante room. Have all senators voted? Got a thumbs up from the hallway. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the motion, the yeas are 53, the nays are 0, and the Senate has agreed to the House substitute to Senate Resolution 844 as amended by the Senate. Chair recognizes the senator from the 56th for a motion.
Mr. President, I move the Senate insist from its substitute to House Bill 1020.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
House Bill 1020 by Representative Gravely of the 67th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to driver's licenses so as to provide for license suspension for conviction of drug-related offenses and for other purposes. That completes the order.
The senator from the 56th has moved that the Senate insist on its substitute to House Bill 1020. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and the Senate has insisted. Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th for a motion.
Mr. President, I move the Senate agree to the House substitute to SB 475.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 475, a bill by Senator Martin of the 9th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend to provide a new charter for the city of Grayson. Mr. President, the House has offered the following substitute to Senate Bill 475, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to provide for a new charter for the city of Grayson. That completes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th to speak to his motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to speak on this. We sent a local bill. This is a piece of local legislation. The House made a couple tweaks to the legislation. The main thing this does, actually the only thing this does now, is the city of Grayson will move from 2-year terms for their city council members to 4-year terms for their city council members. I ask that we agree to this. I ask for your favorable consideration. Mr. President, I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the motion? For what purpose? She waves. All right, the senator from the 9th has moved that the Senate agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 475. All those in favor, vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? We got a thumbs up from the hallway. Mr. Secretary, lock the machine. On the passage of the motion, the yeas are 48, the nays are 0, and the Senate has agreed to the House substitute to Senate Bill 475. Chair recognizes the senator from the 18th for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate agree to the House substitute to SB 410 as amended by the Senate.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 410 by Senator Kennedy, the 18th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-5-311 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the creation of county boards of equalization, duties, review of assessments and appeals, so as to provide an alternative method of recovering costs of litigation and attorney's fees and for other purposes. Mr. President, the House offered the following substitute to Senate Bill 410, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to ad valorem taxation of property, so as to provide an alternative means of recovering costs of litigation and attorney fees in ad valorem tax appeals and for other purposes. Mr. President, Senator Kennedy, the 18th, offers the following amendment: amend the House substitute to Senate Bill 410 by inserting, quote, authorize the conduct of ad valorem tax appeal hearings by virtual means, close quote, after, quote, "so as to," close quote, on line 2, and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 18th to speak to his motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. What we've got is SB 410. Y'all may remember this is the bill that I brought to you that really corrects the problem when a taxpayer appeals the amount of their taxes when it's been raised. If in fact you win at the Board of Equalization level, if you prevail as the taxpayer, you get your attorney's fees. But if in fact there's an appeal to the Superior Court, which is the highest level of that, and you win, you don't get your attorney's fees. So the problem is you've got counties that are appealing tax assessments that they know they're going to lose just to get it to the Superior Court level so that they don't have to pay the prevailing taxpayers' attorney's fees. This just makes it consistent. If you find yourself in a tax appeal challenge and you win, you should get your attorney's fees, and this makes that the same case all the way to the Superior Court level. What has changed is there's been two things added. The House added a provision that you find at lines 32 of the bill, which simply says that the electronic transmission of communications that involve paper with regard to the receipts that utility companies have to provide by paper now, that they can do that by electronic format. It doesn't change the substance of that. And then we have amended by substitute, if you pass this at lines 21 on the substitute to SB 410, another tax-saving practical aspect says that the appeal administrator, in his or her discretion, with the consent of all the parties, and that's the key part, only with the consent of all the parties, may alternatively conduct the hearing by audio or video conference or other remote communication medium. Again, a cost-saving measure in this world where, assuming the parties agree to it, they can have a Zoom meeting or otherwise get together instead of having to hold in-person meetings. Just the efficiencies of technology in the world that we live in today. Mr. President, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
You have no questions.
I yield the will.
You got one that just popped up. I apologize for that. Chair recognizes the senator from the 26th for a question.
Gentlemen, you just explained the line 32, but are we going to agree or disagree? Because you just said you can't get your attorney fees if you win in Superior Court, if the challenge is taken to the Superior Court.
No, what the underlying bill that we passed earlier says that if you take your challenge to Superior Court and you win there, you do get your attorney's fees. The existing law says if you go all the way up to the Superior Court level and you win, you don't get your attorney's fees, although you got them one level below. And so the bill, that was the bill we already passed. The only way this is really amended by the substitute is the additional language that provides that with the consent of all the parties, they can have a hearing by video or audio teleconference. Thank you, Senator. I appreciate the question.
Chair
Mr. President, I yield the
recognizes
will. I'm sorry.
Do you continue to yield?
Sure. One more.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 28th for a question. 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, do you yield?
I do.
If there's a dispute here, would you accept an amendment to send it over to the PSC?
You know, Senator, we can certainly look at that. Be glad to look at any friendly amendment along those lines if you want to. I'd prefer we just vote it out the way it is, though. But I do appreciate the question. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the motion? The chair sees none. The senator from the 18th has moved that the Senate agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 410 as amended by the Senate. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Too busy writing your jokes back there. All senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the motion, the yeas are 36 and nays are 15, and the Senate has agreed to the House substitute to Senate Bill 410 as amended by the Senate. Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate agree to the House amendment to the Senate substitute to HB 695.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
House Bill 695 by Representative Wilson of the 80th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to incorporate the city of Brookhaven into DeKalb County as amended so as to increase the term limit of the mayor and for other purposes. Mr. President, the House offers the following, the Senate offers the following substitute to House Bill 695, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to incorporate the city of Brookhaven into DeKalb County as amended so as to increase the term limit of the mayor and for other purposes. Mr. President, the House offers the following amendment to the Senate substitute to House Bill 695 to amend an act to incorporate the city of Brookhaven into DeKalb County as amended so as to repeal the term limit of the mayor, to repeal expired provisions related to election of mayor and council members during the first 4 years of the city's existence and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd to speak to her motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. This legislation is 2 years in the making and is a result of a compromise between the senator from the 40th and myself and the House delegation representing Brookhaven. It has new provisions for vacant seats on the council, and it also allows the citizens to vote as to whether they would like to allow unlimited terms for their mayor, as is the case for most all DeKalb cities that historically have existed. Right now, the mayor is limited to 2 terms. And Mr. President, if there are no questions, I'll yield the well.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well and ask for your favorable consideration for HB 695.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the motion? The chair sees none. The senator from the 42nd has moved that the Senate agree to the House amendment to the Senate substitute to House Bill 695. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? We got a thumbs up from the 2 thumbs up from the hallway. We must really be doing good. So those 2 buttons there, you got to pick one. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, oh, we got one coming. You've already voted. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the motion, the yeas are 47, the nays are 0, and the Senate has agreed to the House amendment to the Senate substitute to House Bill 695. All right, here's our current posture. We have absolutely nothing else that we can take up for the next 30 minutes. We could, easy now, easy. We've already had that. Look, Senator from the 26th can sing. The chair recognizes the senator from the 26th to give us a tune.
Lieutenant Governor, please let my bills go.
Phrase that in the form of a question.
Mr. Governor, isn't it true that if you let the bills go, sports betting and stuff, we could get some money?
The gentleman speaks with great eloquence and passion. The Senate stands in recess for 30 minutes.